Hey everybody, it's Strict9 with Strict9 GP, and welcome to episode 14 of my Out of the Park Baseball 19 playthrough with the Phillies. We are in the pennant chase of the 2031 season, and hard to believe, but we're still in it. And we could possibly make a run for the division, but it's going to be tough. You can see I'm up to the pennant chase screen right now, and it's really close between four teams in the East. Washington is still on top, but they're only 2 games above the Braves and us. Um, the Braves really have had a good second half, and they've been really strong, so they have a good shot at it. Miami still, I wouldn't rule them out. If you look at the records of the remaining head-to-head matchups, actually the Phillies and the Miami Marlins have probably the best record, or they do have the best record against their remaining schedule. So, how that will play into it, I'm not sure. But for the Nationals, they have 20 games left, but they're playing below 500 against the schedule that they have left. So, if I have any chance, it's probably going to be in terms of the division. It's probably going to be, if this holds true, if they continue to play below 500 against that remaining schedule, and if we can play 537, or sorry, 522. The only downside of that, though, is of the 18 games we have left, 7 are at home, 11 are away. So that's going to be tough, but Miami has it even tougher. They're only home for 6 of the 19 that they have left. And looking at the rest of the league, some surprises, some pretty much typical performances, mainly in the National League. Milwaukee is starting to run away with it. Dowdell has been healthy this year, and that's probably had a lot to do with that. He might be on pace for another MVP season if he finishes out strong. And in the West, San Francisco is up big against San Diego. I think they've got a real good chance. Their magic number is just 11. Same with Milwaukee. Those two teams, I think, have a good chance of clinching early. And then for the wild card, there's mainly 4 teams here who have a good chance. The 3 of us in the East, Braves and Miami and us. And then the Reds, they're just 2.5 back of Atlanta and us, and just a game back of Miami. So they could surprise. And then in the American League, the Yankees have really run away. Tampa Bay is going to have an off year, it looks like, finally, in this playthrough. They looks like they lost Bellinger this last offseason, so that could have had something to do with it, because he's made Kansas City. He went to Kansas City. He's made them a competitor. But Tampa Bay looks like they're going to miss the playoffs, and Yankees should cruise. Of all the teams leading their divisions, they have the easiest magic number, and I think they'll probably cruise to that division title. Detroit, they're up 4 in the Central, and then that American League West is really a mess. No team is playing above 500, and you got 3 teams there: Rangers, Astros, and Mariners, separated by game. And who knows? I mean, Atlanta or Oakland, excuse me, and the Angels, they're both 11 games under 500, but if one of those gets hot, they might be in the mix. 4 games back is not too bad with about 20 to play. Individual performances: Kyle Tucker is still having a monster year, leading the American League in batting. I think it's going to come down to Kyle Tucker, who's won the MVP at least a couple times. Alfredo Santana, who's won it once with the Yankees, he's having another good year. And then Kinsler, who's fallen off his pace in terms of batting average, but yeah, he's still on pace for 70-plus home runs. He's at 65 right now. So could have a new home run king before it's over. And he could make it to 10-plus wins above replacement. I haven't seen that in a while. And pitching-wise, I don't know if there's anything really amazing in the American League. There is Chris Ollis, who's an arrow pitcher. He's leading the league in strikeouts and has 13 wins, so he's top 3 in wins in the American League. And then in the National League, Elman's still having a really good, productive year altogether. 3rd in home runs, tied for 1st in RBIs. Vargas still going strong, well over 300 batting average. I think he would have to really tank these next 18 games to fall below 300. So hopefully he'll stay there. And pitching wise, Plyler, I'm going to call it. I think he's right now he is almost with the Triple Crown in pitching. He's second in ERA, but he's first in wins, first in strikeouts. He's always been first in strikeouts. So he's won 4 Cy Youngs. I'm going to call it for him this year. I think he'll get his 5th. But Bobby Austin for us he's still leading the league in saves, 44. He's 3 up on the next guy. And individually, you can see the pitching staff still struggling. Bullpen still doing really good. Probably holding us except for a few guys. But I think McSparran, I'm really liking that trade. Since he's come over to us, he's won 6 games in 13 starts, a 2.55 ERA, a 1.16 WHIP. I think that was a very good pickup. I think that was the right move to make. And on the lineup side, Vandenhoeven still, I think he's had a solid year. Definitely some improvement over last year. Barge has really picked it up quite a bit. He's now hitting 294 for the year, and you see August he hit 358. He's batting 349 in September. So I'm not sure what spurred him there, but he's definitely been on a roll. And then Devers having another good year. Ochoa's got his batting average up above 200, but he's struggling. I don't really expect him to have that great of a year. I wonder how he's doing. He has been somebody who's been usually hot down the stretch, and he's in only 5 starts this year. He is hitting 389, just only 1 home run though. So hopefully he can contribute down the stretch. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go through and sim out these last few games and see if we can make it. So we're starting out with the tough series away against Washington. Let's see how we do. First game, lost 3-7. Devers a good game, Lewis a good game, but Urrutia had a poor game there. 4 runs in 5 innings. And then Rozier, who's been up and down since the All-Star break, which he made the All-Star team this year, he gave up 2 runs in a third of an inning in relief. Any news to be aware of there? Latrell Fredia, a pretty decent player for Atlanta, he's out. So now we're 3 games back of Washington. Second game of the series, we win 2-0. A good shutout for us. Bard's a good game, 2 for 4. Lewis a really good game, 3 for 3. Drove in the only 2 runs in the game. But it was Lockfeld who picked up his 8th win, only 1 hit in 8 innings, and Austin his 45th save. Believe it or not, I think Lockfeld, who I have definitely a love-hate relationship with, he has been really solid, knock on wood, in September. You can see that 3 starts, just a 2.25 ERA. I'm hoping that he keeps that up. That'll be really, really good for me. So that put us back to 2 games within Washington. No big news there. So let's see if we can win the series. And we don't. 3-8. Another pretty poor pitching performance. Aylman a good game. Kanan Smith a pretty good game. And I think Kanan Smith, he's got to hit 400 plate appearances for that vesting option to kick in. I don't think he's going to make it. And I hope he doesn't. I think it's time to move on from him. Vallejo got rocked early, and man, that bullpen. Castro, I'm going to just use him a whole lot less, avoid high leverage. He's really had a tough year this year. Luke Hamlick, as a former Philly, he looks like he's down for the year. So next series, we're on the road again against the Mets. We need to turn it around here. And Atlanta's now just a half game behind Washington. First game, we lose 1-7. Man, that pitching. Nothing much offensively, and it was McSparran, who I unfortunately talked up a lot. 4 innings, 7 earned runs. His worst outing of the year. So second game, shutout, 3-0. Can't tell me didn't pitch a bad game, but Castro again. Oh my gosh. What has happened to this guy? I mean, he's just stinking it up. And he, the last couple years he's been fairly solid. So I'm not sure what turned it on or turned him off, I guess I should say. But he is really stinking it up. So we're down 4 games back now. Come on, we got to finish this strong. And we lose this third one. That might be it. We're down 5 games back with 12 to play. I think that's going to put us out of the playoffs. Nothing much to speak of offensively in this game. And then Urrutia, another loss. He might be somebody I have to move off after this year. So let's look at any big news coming up. We're about to play Miami, 2-game series, and then Atlanta. Players of the week: Jake Coulter, Wally Kuhn, good player for Atlanta. And then team rankings, we are all the way down to 17th. I think that's the lowest we've been this year. Mets are already out of the playoffs. So looking at the pennant chase right now, it's looking slim. 26% chance of making the playoffs. We are 1.5 games back of that wild card. So Cincinnati, they've won 4 in a row. They've gotten hot at the right time. So come on, this is for the season right here at Miami, and we squeak out a win, 4-3 in extra innings. Vargas a good game, Barge a good game, Canaan Smith another good game. He's getting some more playtime down the stretch. Van den Hooven 2 for 4, and Lockfeld didn't get the win, but 6 2/3 innings, just 3 runs, pretty good outing for him, honestly. Bobby Austin stayed in there long enough to get the win. And Rangers lose their top closer. And now, see if we can sweep this 2-game series. And we do, 3-2, another nail-biter. So we're still 4 games back in the division, but we're obviously playing for that wild card right now. Vargas 2 for 5, another solid game from him. Elman, a solid game. Van den Hooven 2 for 3. And then for the pitching, Vallejo 7 strong innings, just 2 runs, but he didn't get the win. Bobby Austin picked up his 46th save of the year. Looks like the Yankees have already clinched and Pirates are out. So now we are a half game back of the wild card. And we're going to be playing Atlanta now. And that's a 4-game series, but it's at home. And Cincinnati lost, so we're tied with them now. Minnesota's out. San Francisco, they've captured the West. So come on, guys, this is it. We need to win 3 of these 4, and we start out on the losing end, 5-7. Van den Hooven, a great game. He's now up to 70 RBIs for the year. But McSparran, 4 innings, just 2 runs, but 2 back-to-back bad outings for him. Carvente, really bad outing in relief. 4 runs in a 3rd inning. And then Castro. I think Castro is not going to be able to give me anything here. Brewers are in now. I don't know if there's anybody I don't really have anybody in the minors right now who could even take the place of Castro. I mean, look at the last 2 months. I think I'm going to just... Is there a way to just never use the guy? That would be probably the best thing. I'm going to just see if that works for now anyway. I've got another couple lefties, so that would help out. So let's see if we can turn it around. 2nd game of the series. Another loss, 2-6. Van den Hooven was solid, but Cantelmi, not too bad. But it was that bullpen who's been solid for us. They're really tanking when it counts. And now we need to split. We do win the 3rd game, 3-1. Vargas, another hit. See how close he is to 200. He's just 5 hits away from 200 for the year. Carson Kelly, a good game. Urrutia did get the win on this one, 8 strikeouts and 5 2/3, and then Austin picked up his 47th save. And Ken Piggy having a good year for the most part, 14 wins at Miami. So now let's see if we can win this final game of the series. Nope, 3-8. Vargas a good game. Vandenhoeven 2 for 4. Lockfeld 5 innings, 2 earned runs, but 5 walks. That's been his downfall. And Castro again. Anytime they pitch him, he's just giving up runs. So I obviously need to send this guy down. I don't even want him. I really don't want him pitching right now. So we're at the end of the week. Got another scout pickup in Venezuela. He's actually not too bad, 1.5 stars, but he's got some potential there. He might develop. So Alfredo Santana, Player of the Week in the American League, and Juan Molinar from Miami in the National League. And we are down now. Well, we moved up a little bit, 14th in the power rankings this week. But how are we in the playoffs? We're 1.5 games behind Cincinnati with 6 to play, and we're going to be at home against Miami, and we're going to close it out 2 on the road against San Diego. So I think there might be a makeup game in there somewhere. There should be. So here it is. This is for the playoffs. Let's see if we can squeak it out. First game against Miami at home, and we lose 2-4. I think that is not yet. We're not eliminated yet, but that's more than likely going to be enough. Vallejo, his 13th loss. Oh my gosh. If I have enough money left at the end of this season, there's no question I have got to upgrade that starting rotation. Second game, loss, and that should, I believe, eliminate us. Let me make sure. No. But it's not looking good. Miami leapfrogged ahead of us there with that win. Vargas finished, so that'll give him 200 plus hits, so good year for him. Devers a good game. And McSparron again, not too bad this time. 6 innings, just 2 earned runs, but the bullpen didn't hold it for him. So probably going to see a lot of people here. We got a player development update. I'll look at that when the season's over. September's premier batter, Alfredo Santana, another great year. I think this guy's probably going to make the Hall of Fame. Very good player. And then Miami's Molinar, who's just 23 years old. He's going to be a star in this league as well. 19 of 20 for power. And Red Sox, Rodolfo Garza was the pitcher of the month in the American League. National League, Zach Prieto, who came over to Milwaukee from Houston in a trade. And then Rookies of the Month, Chris Woodley. This guy looks great for Tampa. That's probably why they got rid of oh my gosh, I just drew a blank. But Bellinger, it's probably why they could afford to get rid of him. And then Molinar in the American League. So playoffs now, we're looking at New York's clinched in the American League East. Detroit, it's going to be a tight one there in the Central. And then Texas, they're just a game below 500. They might eke that one out. And then Kansas City and Cleveland and Tampa Bay, Tampa Bay, I said they might not make the playoffs, and look what they're doing. They're on a 4-game winning streak. The Yankees, 10 games in a row. Tampa Bay, though, is just a game back for the wild card. Now, in the National League, the Braves have jumped over the Nationals, and they've clinched the playoffs already. Milwaukee's in. San Francisco's in big. So for us, we're going to have to more than likely win out. We're going to have to win these next 4 games and hope that Cincinnati loses their game. So this will tell it against Miami. And we win 9-6. Big game offensively. Looks like Lewis had a solid game. Devers, Ochoa had a good game. His average is up to 215 now for the year. And then pitching, Cantelme picked up his 8th win. Austin his 48th save. And a no-hitter from Jim Pearson of Tampa Bay. Wow. He's a pretty good pitcher, having an okay year for them. And Chris Betts is his 300th home run. Oakland is out. And Washington, they're going to be in the playoffs now. So it's going to come down to this last series. Gabriel Guerrero having a fairly decent comeback year. He hit his 2000th hit. Here's another guy I think is going to make the Hall of Fame in this playthrough. And Kansas City, they made the postseason. Rangers win the West. So how does it look? Tampa Bay, they are 6 in a row. They are tied now with Cleveland for that last wild card spot. Man, never count out Tampa Bay. And then the National League is looking pretty set except for the last wild card. And Cincinnati, they did win their game. I'm thinking they're going to make it. They're three above us in Miami. I don't see how they can lose it right now. So at San Diego, who they're not going to be they're not going to be a pushover. First game, this will be it for the season. And that's it. We lose. So we're out of the playoffs. Pretty big loss to go out like that. And Urrutia, again, just terrible. 7 earned runs and 3 1/3. And looks like, yeah, there's the news story. We're out of the playoffs, so see if we can at least win these next 2. We do win 5-4 in this second game. Barge 2 for 5. He calmed down a little bit there towards the end, but he had a pretty decent season. Devers another solid year from him. And Lockfeld didn't get the win. Rozier picked up his 14th, and then Austin at 49 saves. We'll see if he can get up to 50 this year. And Cincinnati's going to make the wild card. Braves, they clinched the East. So they came on strong in that last of the season. So now 1 more game left. Let's see if we can at least top Miami for 3rd place there. And we lose 2-5. So that's how our season's going to end. 85-77. Not bad considering how poor that pitching staff was. And it was, gosh, it was terrible. There's no sugarcoating it. Vallejo, I probably won't be signing this guy again based on the performance he's had with me. I'm going to have to just start over from scratch in that starting rotation. There's no question. So season's over. Let's see. Tampa Bay. Oh my gosh, they made it. And they have made the World Series before from the wild card spot. So the way they finished, and look at the Yankees, 15 in a row is how they finished the year. But Tampa Bay has made the World Series before. I don't know if they've won it, but they've made it from the wild card spot. So who can say? Kansas City managed to finish hot and win the American League Central. Bellinger came off the DL, I think, late in the year. Had a pretty decent run. Good. He's probably one of the main reasons they had the season that they had. Although Chris Selway's been a good pitcher for them for the last few years. They've got a few good players here besides Bellinger. But then Texas, they did finish above 500. So at least we didn't have to see that. I hate when a team wins a division and they don't have a winning record. I've seen it a few times, but it's rare. So that's the playoffs in the American League. And then in the National League, it should be pretty close, or a pretty good toss-up between several teams. I would think, of course, Milwaukee's going to be the front runner. But for the rest of those guys, I think they'll probably be matched up pretty well. I'd be interested to see how far Atlanta can go because they had a really good run in September and October. But for us, let me see if I can just look at our team stats. We really blew it in September, 12 and 15. I mean, we were above 500 every month except for that September. And then October, we finished at 500 in just 4 games. Offensively, we were okay, middle of the pack in some, at least top 10 in most. And then pitching, except for that bullpen, which the bullpen even got really scary in the second half, we didn't really do good at all. And I'm pretty sure my owner is going to be upset, even though he gave me a 3-year extension. He's was expecting and hoping for the World Series this year, but that's not going to happen. And I think for now, I'm going to have to get to the off season and see who I can pick up pitching wise. I don't know of the staff. I mean, I think there's several guys in the bullpen I'll keep. I do think I'll keep McSparron, even though he did finish cold there towards the last few starts. I think he could still be a number 4, number 5 starter in the league. Urrutia, I may have to rethink about it because he's got some good stuff, but he should be better than he is, honestly. And in that 5th spot, that's probably as good as he's going to get. But can tell me who finished out hot. He might still stay in that rotation, but I need to get rid of Lockfeld and Vallejo for sure. Those 2 guys are just not going to cut it. And in the bullpen, I'm glad that Austin had the year that he had. Very good year. He may be in contention for reliever of the year. And there's a few other guys here. Eric Pine, who's a young guy I called up. He made it from Reading. He was a minor league free agent and made it from Reading this year. He looked pretty good. I don't know if he'll be long-term a good solution, but there's a few good young guys here in the bullpen I can count on. And then the lineups, I think for the most part, depends on if Royce Lewis keeps his option year, if he decides to stay with the team. We're going to lose Elman because I don't foresee with the injury proneness that he has, even though he had this great year this year and played the whole year, I just don't want to commit. I don't want to commit a whole lot of money to him. I may play around with that. $14.5 million for a couple seasons, I might be okay with, but we'll see. He did have a great year, and then Vargas just a monster year. I might even consider working up a long-term, maybe a 5 or even 6-year contract with him in the offseason because I really like the way he's developed. I like the kind of player that he is. He gives me speed. His run production has been great since he's been on this team for the last 4 years. So he's definitely somebody I want to keep. Cameron, Tennessee, I think has a future possibly at 3rd, but Devers should be with me for 1 more year, and I'll probably keep him. I mean, he's been nothing but solid the last 2 years for me. But that's what I'm looking at, and I'll probably, to be honest, I may put this series on hold for a bit, or at least I may do some most of it offline, and then just maybe do an update episode once a week or so. But I'm thinking about the next challenge, which is going to be taking a current team, and I believe I mentioned it previously that I was going to take over the Reds and do like a GM only challenge. It's something that I haven't done in a long time with Out of the Park Baseball, and it's definitely a challenge for me because I'm so, I like to be so hands-on on everything. But I think I'm going to do that and just take over the current Reds and see how far I can get them, and I think it'd be a really good challenge, and that'll be probably something I start up within the next week or so. But as for this episode, this is a pretty disappointing season, considering how I still think, considering the team that we had coming in, I could not get anything going off season last year to improve the pitching. I think it's pretty good that we made it to 85 wins. I think the offense has some pieces that could keep a competitive team, playoff team going for the next few years. I just got to get that pitching up, and that's what I'll work on. But I appreciate you guys watching. Thanks for all the subscribes and the comments and the likes. And I'll let you go for this episode, but look for a new series coming soon with the Reds. And as always, thanks for watching.